are on both sides of the argument. Gentlemen, very good morning to you. Welcome to the sunshine of Westminster this morning. Owen, first of all, we always knew this wasn't going to be straightforward. Just what do you make of what you're hearing from the talks?
Well, sadly for me, this is all just a sideshow and a pantomime. I mean, the demands are really very thin gruel, as we were told in Parliament. And this is such an opportunity to have a completely new relationship, as we were promised in the Bloomberg speech, to have a real negotiation where we will make our own laws in our own Parliament, have a trade relationship with Europe, and not be under the cosh of the ECJ, not be outvoting the Council, as David Cameron has been 40 times. And sadly, what's being talked about, tinker around benefit reform, these are really pretty small things. They are all reversible, they'll all require votes in the European Parliament, and they'll all require treaty change. And we're not going to get any of that.
So you think, watching these discussions going on, it's a little bit of a pantomime?
It is a pantomime, yes, because it's so sad, it's such a wasted opportunity, because they are going to move, the big negotiation behind the scenes is moving towards a much more integrated Eurozone, where you can transfer money from the wealth-creating areas like southern Germany to the loss-making areas. So we have a great opportunity. We'll never be part of that. We'll never join the Euro. We have a wonderful opportunity to use our clout at the moment to withdraw from the political and judicial arrangements. And don't forget, we are constantly told what to do by the European Court of Justice. We have the Europeans deciding how our money is spent. We would get that money back, we would spend it ourselves, we would use our clout in our own Parliament, and then we could get to trade and cooperation. Cooperate on academia, on science, on aviation, all these other areas. Okay. We want the closest cooperation.
So these debates will go on, of course, as we get close to the referendum. Chuka, right now, we don't know when that date is. We're in a moment in time when the Prime Minister says he's battling for Britain. What do you see and what do you hope he will return to Westminster, to Downing Street with?
Well, the first thing is people like Owen made up their minds about the renegotiation that's going on long before it even started. And this notion that somehow we don't control our own affairs. I've spent the last 5 years campaigning against things like the bedroom tax, the trebling of tuition fees that Owen voted for, which had nothing to do with the European Union, which had everything to do with a Tory-controlled British Parliament doing things that I've disagreed with. But look, there are some things that I think are really important. I wasn't alive in 1975 when we last had a vote on these things. And a lot of the older generations who voted for us to stay in then saw it as principally an economic project, as I do. They didn't see it as a political project. And that's why this notion of ever closer union that the Prime Minister's trying to get clarification on and then opt out for the UK at the renegotiation do actually matter. But I'll be absolutely honest, Charlie. I went into this believing that we should stay in, notwithstanding the renegotiation, because I think we get massive gains. Richard Branson was just on your programme earlier saying it would be a big mistake if we left. And the reason that he and others say that is because there are around 3 to 4 million jobs linked to our membership of the European Union. And I do not agree with this talking down of what Britain has been able to get in Europe over the decades. Prime Ministers, Labour and Tory, have managed to marshal a majority behind the UK position at a European Union level. And I don't buy into this whole thing that says we get trampled over whenever we want to get things done. That's talking down our country.
Can I just ask both of you in a way, can I just ask, away from the specifics of those debates, would it be better for both sides if David Cameron were to come back, he's got whatever he's got, and we get on to the referendum? Does that suit you too?
Oh, I'm very happy to have the referendum whenever it's called, because I have a very clear view. We are the 5th largest economy in the world. Picking up Chuka's comments, we have a fantastic future, taking our place on the World Trade Organization, re-galvanizing world free trade, but making our own laws in our own Parliament and not being bossed by unelected officials and unelected judges. The first day I turned up in DEFRA, the thing that most surprised me was the Department of the Environment. We were being hit by a £600 million fine called disallowance in Eurospeak because of the mess the last Labour government made of CAP reform. Now, none of that will change.
Well, OK, time is limited.
We will still be overruled by the ECJ.
Chuka, on the generalities there will be people who don't know the detail that Owen is talking about there, something to do the connection with DEFRA, but there'll be something that clicks with some people about that notion of being controlled from elsewhere. How do you think so far the pro-campaign for staying in is how well are they addressing
we are, and things like, Owen and his crew tried to privatise our forests. That had nothing to do with the European Union, everything to do with them trying to make decisions here. But look, let's take a step back. What are we talking about? We are a nation of 65 million people. Yes, we are the fifth largest economy in the world. That's a great thing. We punch above our weight in the world, and we're competing with the likes of China with its 1.3 billion people, India with its 1.2 billion people. Now, how best can we exercise power when we're up against that in this context? And I think by networking with other countries that have similar economic challenges to us, similar values, similar respect for human rights, is the way that ultimately we can deliver tangible outcomes for British people. I do not want to see us diminished on the world stage. And if we leave an organisation like the European Union, where we have a lot of clout and gives us influence, you talk to any president of the United States will say our link with the EU is very important to the special relationship. Let us not diminish ourselves as a country. Let us continue to stand tall and great and stop all this talking down of what we've been able to do in the European Union.
For the moment, they're going to stop. Because this
we'll come back on.
There'll be another time, and we'll go into it again. Thank you very much. It's been lovely to see you here this morning. So just to remind you where we are in terms of what's happening in Brussels.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.